Hi everybody, welcome to my fruit orchard. Me and my wife decided to put in an orchard, but we got some fruit trees ready to plant, but we have deer out here and they like to just terrorize everything. So we decided to put in a fenced area where we're going to put the fruit trees. There'll be 4 of them here, and then there's going to be another probably 3 of them in the back. So what I did is I just used the resources that I had on hand, which are some old trees that got burnt with the wildfire in the area, so they had to come down anyways, so I felled them and skinned them up and framed this in. I only have about 2 feet, maybe 2.5 feet of depth of soil here, so what I ended up doing is I put it in, and a few of these are slightly wobbly. So in order to reinforce them, because I have to take these poles and go so high with it because of the deer can jump pretty high, is what I did is I put it, these are about 2.5 feet in the ground, and then what I'm doing is I'm building the corner braces. I'm going to do another video on those corner braces, but today I'm going to be doing a video on the entryway. This entryway is, there was a corner post that needed to come into the entryway, but this is where I wanted to stick the door. So what I did is I did a kind of a modification that I could come up with, and that is I put in kind of like an oversized corner post. Instead of being just down here like you see the ones in the back, I created a very large one, and then I framed it in, and then I'm putting these wires, and we're going to put in another wire this way, and I'm going to show you how I did that. So let's get a closer look. So here we have the top of the of these posts. Now this method I'm using up here has been used by ranchers for many years. Instead of using wood to be like a cross beam to you know, and reinforce and give it stability, you use wire and you twist the wire. And I'm going to show you both methods, the wire method as well as the framing method that we saw in the back. But the way that you first do this is I'm using a wire that I've had just laying around the house, excess wire. It's been sitting around here for like 4 years. So everything I'm using today is just stuff that I could find around my property. And therefore it literally isn't costing me any money whatsoever. So the first thing we're going to do is I'm going to go in my old nail bucket and get my hammer here. And I have some old rusty nails. See if I can find the straightest one I can find. So I got my old rusty nail that I'm repurposing for this. And let me adjust the screen here. Maybe we can zoom in a little bit. So what I'm doing here is I'm taking a rusty nail, and I'm going to go just at the level of the underneath of here, which is about there. I'm going to hammer it just in a little ways. And essentially what I'm going to do with this nail is I'm going to turn this nail into a big staple. So I've hammered that nail in. Now let me grab my big bolt cutters, and we're going to take these bolt cutters and we're going to nip the end off. That way we can turn this thing into a staple. See, now it's nipped off, it has a sharp end onto it. And I'm going to use my hammer here to give this a little bit of a twist. Okay, so now I'm going to hammer it and try to coach it over into kind of a staple, as you see there. So I don't want to hammer this all the way in, but I want to hammer it in enough to get where I can get a wire through there. Once we get the wire through there, I'm going to probably hammer it down just a little bit more, but I need some room to get our wire through there. So now let's grab our wire. And you want straight wire for this. You don't want bobbed wire, because there's barbs, you can't fit through these staples like this. And it's hard to It's a handle, obviously, because you can get yourself. Sorry you can't see this. I'm actually right behind the camera in the back of my truck grabbing some parts here. Okay, so we have the wire. So now I'm going to feed my wire through the hole. And give myself some slack. And now we need to go to the other side and make the other staple. Okay, so I'm going to pull the slack. Now I've, between cuts there, I put the second staple on already, since you already saw how I did that. Now I'm going to pull some slack here, and I'm going to run it through this second staple. And it's probably not completely necessary to do two of them. I'm not sure, but I'm going ahead and doing it because I'm turning this into a pretty heavy swinging door, and I wanted the extra strength that having more than one of them would supply. Okay, so we need to pull a little bit more slack into that. Make sure we got enough wire here to work with. And I usually like to join them near the center. Okay, close, just a little bit more, because you have to have enough to when you start winding them. So and of course, I mentioned earlier 2 methods of making a corner brace, but I don't want you to think that there's only 2 methods. This is just 2 methods that I will be showing, since one thing I've learned from my childhood is that there is often many times and ways of doing stuff depending on the ingenuity of the worker. Okay, so let's clip this thing off where we have some good slack here. Oop. Okay, so I'm grabbing these 2 wires and I'm pulling as tight as I can get them, and then I'm going across like this as tight as I can, and then wrapping them like this. I don't know if you could see that, how I've wrapped them. So have these wrapped in here like this, and what I'm going to do is you fold it over as tight as you can, and then begin twisting them. And you don't want to go longwise down, but you want to make really fairly tight right angles. And looks like I'm going to have to get my pliers to help me have some grip strength on that wire. Here they are, getting it off the truck behind you. Okay, so have a pair of channel locks here. So what I'm going to do is I'll just grab it and get some good torque on it, and then wrap it fairly at a right angle as much as possible, because by doing that it has, I think, a greater amount of friction, I'm guessing. I'm not a genius, but as far as I can come up with. There. Wrap them as tight as you can do it by hand here. See, if you wrap this not so tight and it's wrapped like way out here, I'm pretty sure it won't have the pull strength, or won't be tight enough to really handle the pressure you're going to be putting on it. Okay, so there's one. Let me do the second one here. Get a good pinch on it. Get those pliers up there. Begin wrapping. Really nice tight right angles. Not too tight, but fairly tight. I'm gonna have to have some pretty energetic deer to be able to get through this when I'm done. You know, they say, I think it was the Forest Service that says that deer can jump at the highest height I think they measured is 15 feet. And now those are for really strong, energetic deer, not all average. I don't think that's the average on deer. I think if you have a fence about 10 to 12 feet tall, usually that keeps them out. I think the part that really allows them to get in is areas like this where there's a piece of wood on the top or a wood plank. Say you have a wood fence, and if you just YouTube some deer jumping fences, you'll see that oftentimes some of them can clear 10 feet, but it's not pretty. They just like really just hammer themselves into the wood, and then they kind of grab the wood and kind of shuffle over as they jump. So it's not pretty. It's not like they just easily clear 10 feet. They just crash into the thing and kind of make it over when they're spooked and their adrenaline is pumping. But I think I'm wagering, I don't know if that's how much of the information I'm telling you is true. That's of course off of online, you know, looking it up on Google, but is I believe that as long as you have a 10-foot to 12-foot fence, it should keep them out. And of course this is about 10 to 12 feet what I have going on here, to try to keep them out of the area where the fruit trees are going to be, because those are the two main predators of your fruit trees are going to be the deer and the gophers. So I'm going to have later a video on the actual, when I start planting the trees, I'm actually going to do a separate caging for the gophers inside of here. This barrier is to keep the, to just basically keep the deer out. And the inside, I'm going to cage it, the bases of all the fruit trees to keep the gophers out. So, looks like we're ready to start doing our twist. So I'm going to go grab a couple pieces of scrap oak I had and be right back. Okay guys, I'm back. I got my scrap oak. We got to make this quick because the battery on the camera is getting low. So we've essentially put two sticks in here and we're going to wind it. And as you see here, you want the winding close to the beam or a long enough stick. So when you wind it, you can wind it at an angle and then pull the stick behind where that beam holds on to the twist. So I'm going to demonstrate here. So I'm going to come in here close and I'm going to kind of at a diagonally here. I'm going to get this beam in here and I'm going to put some twists in here, and it's tightening. It's really tightening up this cable here. And as I put a couple twists, one more, it's getting really tight. I'm gonna get it past here and then slide it in here where the beam is holding on to it to where it can't untwist. So let's see if we have enough battery to get the second one done. Here we are with the second one. I'm grabbing my stick here. And it looks like this stick's a little bit too long, but I'm gonna measure it, because we're going to have a fairly long one, right about right there, to because this is the upside and it's away from the beam. Come on, chop. There we go. Okay, so I got this one, and I'm going to, instead of putting it towards the center, I want to put it like this, that way it can get against that beam. Now I'm going to measure the direction from the second twisted one, which means we got to go this way. Now this is going to be a little complicated seeing how I have this in the way, so I'm going to twist this a little bit in my favor. See if we can't coach that in there like that. This thing is tight enough where think I'm gonna get away with just 2 turns. So I'm gonna get that around there. Did it. And then twist it back where, let's see if I can get it a little higher. Okay, there. As you see there, nice and tight, and it's keeping the frame from, it's bracing it to going left to right. Of course, I have sway this direction, but it's pretty tight this way until I get the other corner frame in to keep it from wobbling this way from the other corner. So I just wanted to say thank you for watching. This will make a really nice doorway. I made it big enough where I could fit a 4-wheeler through here. That way when the fruit does come of age 3 to 5 years from now, and we have, as the years go by and we have larger harvests, we can pull the 4-wheeler with a little trailer on the back where we can put all the apples and be able to haul it easier without having to make 100 runs between each armload of apples. So thank you for watching, and God bless and take care.